Hey, everyone. Welcome to Champagne with Shyann. I'm your host, Cheyenne Malone. This is a place for unfiltered conversations with real people who have real stories because everyone has one, right? Cheers to that. I want to welcome a special guest in so many levels. She does so many things, and I watch and I'm taking notes. And I'm trying to be more like her in a professional setting and as a mother. She's a founder and managing attorney of Atlanta Divorce Law Group, co-author of Detached from the Narcissist, The Divorce Lawyer's Guide to Freeing Yourself, Whether You Stay or Go, and co-host of the Happily Ever After Divorce podcast. Welcome, my friend and boss bae, Sara Khaki. Welcome.
Thank you, Cheers. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks so much for joining me today. You have your own podcast. I had a list of, your titles and your accomplishments, but you are a wife of 18 years, right? Mm-hmm. You have 3 beautiful kids. There's definitely a science, right, to this balancing act. How do you, become this professional woman and then you take a time out to have kids and you're balancing the marriage? Talk about how that is going for you because you seem to make it look so easy. And I know it's not. And cheers. Welcome.
I think I'm speaking to the expert of this when I say you put a lot of work in the background to make it look easy, right?
Yes.
I speak your language, which is athletics, especially basketball. I'm a huge fan of the mindset of Michael Jordan, of the mindset of Kobe Bryant, and everything you read about their mindset. One of my favorite books is Tim Grover's Relentless, who was the mindset coach for Michael Jordan.
Uh-huh.
All the stuff you do, right? All the preparation you do, all that practice you do, the stuff you do in the behind the scenes, that's the real work, right? And
absolutely.
The part where everybody else sees is when you're enjoying the fruits of your labor, but the real work is behind the scenes. And I promise you, it does not look all glitz and glamour. There's a lot of craziness. There's days that feel completely off balance, right? But I think when you're mixing family and business and all these things, my husband Shyann says it the best, it's like an orchestra. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you got to let the flutes play. Sometimes you let the violins go. Sometimes everything's in harmony together. But you have to be okay that not all the strings are always playing in perfect harmony together. So you're just keep trying to get back on track. And every day is, are we on track? Let's get on track. Let's stay on track. Never really a destination, is it?
I love that explanation. It's beautiful.
He's had to give that to me multiple times.
Yeah.
When I'm like, what are we doing? It's like, hey, look at him. We're an orchestra.
Yeah, because we have those days. And you immigrated here, right? Yes. Talk about that. Your story is so fascinating. Anyone who does see you on the outside would never know unless they sit down and have this deep conversation. But you do seem like, I was made for this and I was born with a silver spoon, but that is not the case at all.
No, it's not. Thank you for saying that. So we immigrated from Iran when I was almost 3. I was about 2.5 years old. It was in 1986. It was in the middle of war between Iran and Iraq. I was born in Tehran, and this is, we were taking shelter and bomb shelters, all those things. We were one of the lucky few that got out during the middle of the war. My dad smuggled us out of the country. We took refuge in Sweden. So I really grew up in Sweden. So even though I'm Persian, I sometimes joke and I say I'm a little bit of a defective Persian because I do have this village Swede in me because I grew up in a very small town in Sweden. I didn't even have the status of a town until 1930s or something, and truly is a village, and it's called Vetlanda.
Do you remember being smuggled at that young age?
I have small memories. And, there's different levels of smuggling. So my uncle, for instance, who was smuggled out of the country from Iran, he literally was smuggled on the back of an oil tanker going through the mountains of Turkey into Istanbul. So when we think of Hollywood smuggling, that's what we're imagining. Ours looked more like, without telling anybody, selling as much as we can without spilling the beans so that people wouldn't know that we're leaving like that. And, in the middle of the night, my dad taking a flight from Tehran into Switzerland to Zurich, I believe. And we had nothing on us because we wanted to look like tourists so that they would let us leave. So we went to Zurich, and from there, the smuggler told my dad, give me a call when you get to Zurich. And I will tell you what to do next.
Wow.
So it's my dad and my uncle, my cousin Shadi, who you know, and our two of our families. So 4 children, 4 adults, family of 8, all go to Switzerland together without any possessions, no belongings. We make it to Zurich, and then my dad calls the smuggler guy, and he's like, well, you have to wire me. I think it was like $10,000 at the time.
Wow, which is a lot of money to
It's a
pay.
lot of money.
Even then, wow.
In the 80s, right? As your family that just sold everything. And I guess my dad just took a leap of faith and trusted the guy, wired the money over. We probably slept in that airport that night, and then we took a flight into Stockholm from there. He helped us take a flight into Stockholm. Now, the part about that getting into Stockholm that's really interesting is when they questioned us, and they take you immediately into custody when you don't have anything on you. Because I believe the instruction my dad was given, like, get rid of all identification, so that they'll take you into custody instead of sending you back.
Okay.
So they took us into custody, and at that point realized we're refugees. So then they send us to the most northern point of Scandinavia in the tundra called Kiruna. We lived in a refugee camp there for 6 months till we got asylum. And we got our Swedish statuses. And then we moved as south as you can go in Sweden. We went all the way south, pretty south, in that small little town called Vetlanda. And then I grew up there. That was my formative years. And then as a teenager, my parents really wanted to be closer to more family, because all of our family eventually came into Atlanta at some point, and we were still back in Sweden. There was that, and also, I think the Persian culture is very in line with entrepreneurship. And my dad kept trying that in Sweden, and it just wasn't working out. And I think he really wanted to explore that in America. My uncles were entrepreneurs here. My mom had just gone through surviving terminal cancer. And it was like that moment where you're like, life's too short.
Sure.
So they brought us here in end of 96 for just a vacation, and we never went back. But I literally packed just for like a summer vacation. And then my aunts and uncles sat my parents down. They're like, why are you guys going back? Let's just give this a shot. So I didn't speak English. And I mean, as much English as you learn, like, Spanish in elementary school kind of thing. And then, I started middle school here.
Wow. Yeah. So where here, when you guys came on vacation, Atlanta?
It was Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I went to Webridge Middle School for 8th grade. Yeah.
Okay. And then you did that. So how was that assimilating to, American culture in middle school years?
So, I find kids these days, I feel bad for them for all the social media, but I also find some interesting things that's an advantage for them if they want to move abroad.
Okay.
Social media, I feel like, has created such globalization of culture. You can go to any country now. For most part, people kind of dress the same. I mean, you have some places where they dress fancier or nicer or whatever, but at the end of the day, it doesn't look so vastly different. They're usually listening to the same music. They're into the same, like, pop stars or whatever. It's very different before we had social media. So when I came to the United States, I didn't even know what Nike was. That just wasn't that big in Europe at that time. I was really into Adidas. So I didn't have the cool shoes. I had skinny, like, European jeans. All my clothes were tighter than they were supposed to be. This was like in the 90s when, Tommy Hilfiger and the baggy,
Carl Kanai.
Yeah, that Aaliyah, that look was in. I adapted to her really quickly, but it was challenging for sure. And my parents didn't afford to buy anything. I mean, they had put all their money into getting a visa, building a business here to get us going. So it was basically like, how about you just don't grow for the next years, and everything we brought with us, you're going to have to live off of that. I remember for PE actually needing a pair of sneakers, and my mom took me to Walmart, and I thought that was so cool that I got a pair of shoes. I didn't even know that, like, wearing Walmart shoes meant anything, right? I just didn't know. So it was rough. And then imagine having a thick Swedish accent with, like, thick Persian hair.
All should have a zero accent now.
I worked hard at that, Shyann. I worked so hard at that because I had a thick Swedish accent. And, it was hard for kids that age. I mean, middle school, as hard as it is, and kids are just not that nicest at that point. So they would make fun of my accent. I get ripped. There's a lot. So I started speaking really fast so that people couldn't hear the accent. So now it turned into like a Northeastern thing.
Yeah. I would say I would never have pegged Swedish. Okay. So did you always know you wanted to be an attorney?
I think in my heart I did, but not consciously. So
Why do you think you wanted to be an
attorney?
Yeah. Was financial the driving factor? Because I didn't have much.
I even knew that. I don't think I even knew that money. I did know I had to make money. I'll be honest with that, because, you know, coming from an immigrant culture where you were brought here that way, you were brought here where your dad's driving, you know, $1,000 Nissan that he bought at an auction, driving all the way from Alpharetta to Agnes Scott College, Decatur, BP to work like 1 a.m. so that your family can make ends meet, right? And there's no money to be had. And Alpharetta was an affluent place to live.
Sure.
And they put us there because of the school system. So yes, I became very aware that they are setting me up for something. And I am, you know, I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to give up what they've set me up for. And I very much felt the healthy pressure that I had to deliver on this promise my parents had like kind of given me, right? This privileged position they put me in. So money was a thing. But at that point, you know, as we grow older, money means different things to us, right? Mm-hmm. At that point, it meant, so my parents wouldn't have to work so hard that day. It was my dream, can I get my parents up where they retire? It meant so they didn't have to worry about debt. It meant so like my parents would drive nice cars. It meant differently. It's meant different things, you know, as I've gotten older. But at the heart of it was, I've always been a challenger at heart. So if you put anything in front of me, my immediate reaction to it is, I want to challenge that. Like, I can't even help it. And honestly, in marriage, it's not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing. Because it took some years for Shyann to be like, I feel like you're just challenging me to challenge me. And I'm like, thank you. Okay.
Well, at least you can own it, right?
Yeah. And it took
you've been married for 18 years, so it's working out for you.
It is. So I think just like putting things in front of me wanting to challenge it, me wanting to question things and like dig a little bit deeper, learn a little bit more. That was always there. And in high school, I pretty quickly started catching on to politics and really loved politics. And I remember my best friend in high school, Lily, she's still one of my closest friends. She was like, you aren't going to be a doctor, because I kept telling everybody I'm going to be a doctor. It was like the Persian thing to do, right? I'm going to be a doctor. My parents want me to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. She's like, you're not like, you need to be a lawyer, or you need to go to Washington and be like a lobbyist. And she was looking out for it financially. She's like, wait, you make so much money if you're a lobbyist. But I'm also a nerd, so I loved school. And one of the good things I did is I tried out the medical thing, but internships, I was like, she's right, this isn't for me. Yeah. And then in college, when I was I was a chem major at first. My poli-sci class that I was just taking for credits, when I remember taking my last test and calling my mom and I'm like, I can't believe the last time I'm taking poli-sci. Like, I was heartbroken.
You're missing it.
I was missing it. So I went to my uncle, who's always been like one of my mentors, and I was like, do you think my parents will be mad at me? Do you think I'm letting them down for everything they've given up to put me here if I went to law school? No, not at all. We just want you to be happy and do your best.
I love that.
Yeah.
And supportive of you. Where'd you go to law school?
UGA.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you are a divorce attorney.
Yeah.
Yet you've been married happily for 18 years, right? So tell me how that came about. How'd that transpire?
So I did family law in my summer internships all through law school and even through college, and I loved it. But I think when I really made the conscious decision to go after family law full time, it was 2016. I had been out of practice, out of law school for some years. And it really came from a place of seeing what else was out there, how other firms were talking about family law and divorce, and wanting to have a conversation about it that was different. I'm very loyal to family. Family is really big to me, very much my culture to put family first. And I wanted to have a conversation about how people could come to that consultation table and be faced with a legal team that took family seriously and would honor this transition they were coming from, not from a place of, oh yeah, let's lose the husband or divorce her sort of thing. But like, this is a big life decision. This is going to impact your identity. This is going to impact your community. And I wanted to build a firm that took that seriously and realized that, man, family is a big thing. And if there's some way we can still keep it together, let's explore that.
And you did this with your firm, but then COVID hit and things kind of took a turn.
So my first firm was a Social Security disability firm. And that was the Khaki law firm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. Okay.
And then in 2016, there was a budget freeze. And what that means for the federal government when they budget freeze, if you are in any kind of business that gets your revenue from the government, you're on a freeze. And a Social Security disability basically is contingent based on you winning cases with the government, and then the government pays you. So I had built this business model for 3 years, worked on this business model. And then year 3 with this payroll, office space, everything, the budget freeze happens. And when all that income was supposed to come in, none of that was coming in. So I had to pivot really quickly. I was barely able to make payroll. I was terrified.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, time to go and use this problem and just empower myself and go for the thing I really love, which was family law.
And how long have you been in family law?
10 years now.
Have you seen it evolve? Because I feel like it used to be such a big deal to get a divorce.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, I remember like, oh, they come from a broken home or, and then it happens to me and I'm like, oh shit, like now my parents are getting divorced. But it just seemed a little bit more, I don't know if taboo is the right word, but it just was like a big deal if they were divorced.
I think it had stigma.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do a great job of like splitting up. We know we're not together. We'll co-parent, we'll do it and they'll get along. But then there's the other side that like, I feel like they give up so quick.
I agree.
And I'm like, if you would have just, and I don't know, it's my opinion. I'm not in it, but I feel like people are just so quick to like, oh, it's an option. Like back in the day, I don't think it was like the option to go to. Like, it was like the last case scenario. And now it's like, you don't like it? Let's not, like, there's a door,
I completely agree with you on that. I think it's a pendulum thing, right? We've seen so much of that pendulum in our culture in the past few years. I think there's so much good stuff that has come out of the mindset world and the self-development world. You and I were exchanging notes on different books before the recording. I think so much good has come of that. But it's like anything in culture, you have a pendulum swing. I think some of pendulum swing we're seeing is individuality to an extreme sometimes gets celebrated. And I think that's what we're missing a little bit. I'm huge about family and I'm huge about this. Is there no other option? Could we explore therapy? Could we explore, couples therapy, individual therapy, divorce, marriage coaching, all these other things? And some of it is just the pressures of, we know this, having little kids in a job. When I see a female that reminds me of me like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they have a toddler and an infant and they're complaining about marriage, I'm like, my first questions are you being physically or mentally abused? We're not talking that. Then I really turn my marriage coach hat on and I go into, okay, you are in the gauntlet. I am here to tell you it's going to get better. You're in the most difficult stage. You might have lost your identity a little bit here with this child rearing thing. He's probably just trying to be in survival mode, taking care of this new family. Can we sort through this difficult time? But I agree with you. I think our culture is swinging the other way. Because when I started family law 10 years ago, we had the tagline of happily ever after divorce, which we still do. But we were talking a lot about happily ever after divorce from a place of, let's remove the stigma of divorce. Let's make it a more healthy, empowering process so that the children don't have to feel like they're the children of divorce and feel any sort of like guilt or shame about that. Now, we really have had to stay true to ourselves. Really, for myself as a CEO, I have to stay true to myself when I talk about my brand. Happily ever after divorce has really evolved in the past 5 years to mean, is your conscience clear? Have you done everything you could do? So 5 years later, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I did the right thing by my family. I did the right thing by myself. This was the next best decision after I've explored all other options. I rolled up my sleeves. I did the work to a point of diminishing returns even, right? And then you can say, I can make this decision without regret, and then you can be happy and have the happily ever after divorce. But I'm completely with you. I mean, there's nobody, you've been married almost longer than I have.
Yeah.
We know this. There's nobody that has family with children, has been married over a decade, that hasn't gone through the darkest moments of where they're looking at each other saying, are we going to make it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the foundation actually grows, is when you do make it past those points.
Do you think, this is my opinion, and I'm no expert, oftentimes I see people getting married for the wrong reasons in the first place. And I feel like that is always something that's explosive, right? With, that. And then on the flip side of that, I've also seen people grow together to be better when they are parents, or they realize the sacrifices that this one has made, maybe I should too. You kind of see both sides of it as well. But I love that you're not like, I'll take your money, let's go. You want a divorce? Whatever. Yeah. It's not a transaction for you. It's more so like, all right, have you done all the things? Because this is the last case scenario and the last resort, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
But we can do it,
Yeah, I definitely think people get married for the wrong reasons. It's tricky because you met Mike when you were in college. Mm-hmm. I met Shyann when I was at college. We really know who we were through and no. So there's a little bit of luck. Mm-hmm. There was a little bit of luck but then there was a lot of work. I mean, no luck comes without work involved, right? Mm-hmm. And we were lucky that we ended up with the right person, but we put in a lot of work every day for that luck to become what it is today and grow together. The work came from growing together. I think there's a lot of couples who are college sweethearts. I see this a lot, where they got so comfortable with each other and they're really uncomfortable ever doing anything apart. So I see a lot of the couples like us who got married in they knew each other from high school or college, and it was sort of like this comfort zone that they created for each other, but unfortunately never grew up together.
Sure.
Right? And they never learned how to grow through the seasons of life together. Okay, we're going to graduate college, then I'm going to get a job, we're going to get a house, you're going to, further your education, we'll have some kids, and then what? And that's where the breaking points happen, where the vision doesn't ever evolve past that. Mm-hmm. The vision never evolves past the children. And then they find themselves in that gauntlet of the identity is lost. The codependence is so heavy that everything the other person does is like 1,000 swords inside their identity. The other flip side of that is couples who wait. They wait till they're so evolved into who they are. Their self of independence is so strong that there is no give anymore, right? And it's take me as I am. I am who I am. You love it or leave it. Marriage isn't love it or leave it.
Yeah.
It isn't.
Angela, you're right. I remember doing a speech at my cousin's wedding. I was matron of honor, and I can't recite it completely, but I wrote it. It was like, when you love each other, when you talk to each other, mm-hmm. When you grow together. And it's like, those are like big factors, right? I feel like when women start talking to other women, and, you know what I mean? You want to talk to that mate first and foremost. You have the girlfriends that get it. Men are different, and they're not going to always get it, but I feel like you still owe them that, conversation. And then even growing together, I think sometimes you'll see like the female level up or the male level up, and then there's like a competition and a rivalry, and it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And they're just competing and just one-upping each other, and it just doesn't turn out to be, for me, I'm like, hey, let's go. Like, I want us to be like, the better you are, the better I am. And you know what I mean? Like, we keep like just matching that. And
that's partnership.
Yes, exactly.
Or some unhealthy interdependence or codependence that isn't meant to further both of you.
Yes. Okay. So with you in your career, and you obviously a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of dedication, your husband works as well. You've got the 3 kids. Is it a challenge to make sure you have that connection time with you and him? And then obviously one-on-one with each kid. I know we talked about the sporting events and, volunteer, whatever you can do, but it is a lot. And the weeks do go by very fast, right? At games and activities and piano, whatever you're doing. How do you keep connected as a family? How do you keep the Khaki family present and together and close?
Yeah. So one of our hacks has been travel. We find travel to kind of just take us out of our daily grind, take us out of just
Here's the travel.
Thank you. Yeah, I think travel has been a way where and especially when you do adventurous travel, we travel to Asia with them. We travel to Egypt, where my husband's from. We do summers, extended stay summers abroad, where, we are really immersing ourselves into a culture. The reason we do it that way is I think every parent or every person has a unique gift from their own life experience that your children are meant to be the beneficiary of, right? So I'm not saying travel is the thing to do for everybody, but I grew up having to learn how to adapt to 3 different cultures and 3 different continents really fast.
At a young age.
At a young age. But I can tell you, every one of those moves, our family really bonded and rallied around each other to take care of each other, help each other out. Obviously, I don't want my children to have to become refugees of any sort or have to all of a sudden be dropped into a school where they don't speak the language. But in a controlled way, we give them the benefits of what I had as a family, which is, okay, we're gonna travel as a unit. We're gonna learn things as a unit. We're gonna, remove ourselves from all the friends, the sports, the activities, the work, the cell phones, and go to, somewhere else where we hopefully don't speak the language, because that creates even more bonding among the 5 of us, right? And we're gonna figure it out together. That's been very, very big, solid for us. I think beyond that, we have weekly family meetings. We have every Khaki family meetings every Sunday. It's sort of like our church on Sunday, and we talk about our family values. We talk about what's going on with everybody. They know what our personal goals are. My kids know what my professional goals are, what my personal goals are. They know what dad's are, and we know what theirs are, and we're very intentional about that. All this, again, is like behind the scenes. These things are very intentional. They're very planned. They're very scheduled. It sounds rigid, I think, to a lot of people, but that creates more freedom long term.
What else is happening behind the scenes of the Khaki family that we may not see and know about?
Well, I may or may not have a 12-month forward-looking calendar.
I don't doubt it.
Yes, in my closet, and that thing has everything in there. It has everything from friends' birthdays, family members' birthdays, trips that are coming up. Goals. Every month has a goal in there. Every month has all the activities in there. And it mixes professional and personal. I think there's a lot of talk about work-life balance. We don't have that in our family. Work and we are so passionate about what we do. I'm very fortunate to be a lawyer who's an entrepreneur, who's in a position of owning my own business. My husband getting to do the same. And when you're doing that, you're doing what you're passionate about. Or the work-life balance sort of isn't there. So we openly, at the kitchen table, talk about what's going on with dad in business, what's going on with mom's business, what's going on for them, right? And it all kind of meshes together. And that calendar is the biggest testament of that. It actually has all that mixed into it.
When you look back at your experience in life, you've been through a lot at very young ages. Do you think, what type of attributes do you think that have been made stronger for you today? And how are you using those in life?
I think I'm from, hitting my head hard as a lawyer a few times, going to court and, the judge yelling at you, being put on the spot, or in business where you're like, how am I going to make the next paycheck or payroll? To even in personal life where, you're fighting for your family, you're fighting for your marriage, all those things. All of it comes down to the ability to make decisions, right? And I am grown really comfortable with myself in making decisions and trusting myself when I make a decision. Nobody ever really knows if a decision is the right decision or wrong decision. Like, how can you really ever know that, right? But what you do have is this trust in yourself that no matter where this decision leads me, I'm committed to see it through. And B, I will make the best out of this decision. I will make this the best decision and the right decision just through my own effort and the trust I have in myself. That just brings a lot of peace. I think we have a lot of anxiety and being stuck. When I think about anxiety and when I think of being overwhelmed and being in a place where you don't know what to do. And to me, it's like you're stuck and you are stuck in the inability to make a decision. Sometimes you just have to make a decision and say, decision's been made. All other options are off the table. And I have vested enough in myself and have enough trust in myself that I will see this through and I'll make the best out of it.
What are your long-term goals in your career?
I would love to keep growing as a leader. Anybody I think that has made it anywhere in business, they have grown as a leader, right? Your business is really, its limitations are limited to your ability to lead people. Mm-hmm. And I think parenthood has so much of that, right? I've learned so much from leadership skills from being a mom, where you're creating space for them to shine. It's not all about you, right? It's not all about the things you want. You take away your own individual contribution, right? Maybe you didn't get to play tennis, but did your kid get to play tennis? Did you create the space and the tools and give them all the resources so they can be the best tennis player they want to be, right? So that has given me a lot of life skills and leadership, and I want to grow more as that and a leader within my own firm so that the firm can grow, impact more people. At some point, I stopped being more client forward-facing and being more team forward-facing, and that has been really, really rewarding just to watch the growth in these professionals. Most of them are smarter than I am. Mm-hmm. Some of them have ambitions in the field that are even more beyond my wildest dreams. And the fact that they are in, this office, putting their trust in my vision is incredibly humbling. I really, only thing I can relate it to is parenthood, really.
And you work so hard and you play all these different roles, wearing all the hats. What fills your cup? What are you doing for you to re-energize? And I'm a nerd, like through and through. So I'm a nerd through and through. So I will do weird things where, this, I love fashion. We both love fashion. We connect on that. So Shyann, I'll go like 10 feet deep, just studying a fashion house and nerding out on it to a point that it's no longer fashion. It's just like history.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? Or it's just like leadership lessons.
Uh-huh.
We had a friend's birthday recently. It was a Christian Dior birthday. I mean, I can tell you a lot about that man just because I studied him so deeply and I was so inspired by him. That really fills my cup when I find something that I can obsess over. Allows me to turn off the TV, turn off the phone, turn off the social media, and I just want to go in depth and study something and learn it, and to a point where I don't think I'll ever even get to have a conversation about it. I'll never get to express it, but it really, really fills me. And usually the subject matter is either history, fashion, or travel, or just some sort of like mindset thinking that I just want to go really deep and nerd out on. I will say that when I describe you to a friend, I'm like, my friend Sarah, she's like so into fashion. Like we have to share, like I love all the things and you do it better than me. But I'm like, but not only does she know like how to put it together, she knows like the history of the designers and like shit. Like I'm like, this is like next level. Like and I try, a little bit, but I like know just a brief version. I mean, you were like deep with it. And I love that. I think that's awesome because it is more, for sure. On the outside, you see the shell, but like what it took for them to get there. Like the speech you even gave at that birthday party, just like some of the history. Like I love just learning about that, and it just makes you more prouder to even wear it. And you're just get it and you love it. So
and associate with that history and what it meant. Yeah.
I would love to tour your closet.
After I get to tour yours.
Okay. Yours touche. But yeah, it's a mess right now. You don't want to do that. But yes, we need it. That's a segment. Yeah. Closet. So when you talk about this beautiful family that you have and the connection that you guys have traveling, you and I are similar where we also have like room for friends. Do you have siblings? Like
I have an older brother. Yeah.
No sisters though.
No.
Okay. You've got your cousin Shadi that you're very close with. I love her too. So you're like, we're the same. I have a brother. I have 3 brothers actually, but I didn't grow up with like a sister.
Yeah.
And my girlfriends are very important to me. I feel like you are the same.
Yes.
How do you keep that, right? Where you're still, again, back to balance, but still, there for your family, but you still make time for your girlfriends. And I commend you on that.
I think that's part of where you just have to realize you need to fill your own cup at times, right? And
absolutely.
I think that when you start trying to get from your spouse or your children what a girlfriend can give you, I think you're going to do a disservice to your husband. You're going to do a disservice to your children, right? And I think there's certain buckets that they're meant to fill for you, but not all of them.
Yes.
There is a bucket that a good girlfriend fills that a husband can't. Children can't. Just like there's a bucket a husband fills that no amount of girlfriends could ever fill it, no matter how hard they try,
Yes.
right? And it's a bucket filler. And I think a lot of women have the need for a girlfriend, but they don't speak up for it. They don't speak up for it and they don't put themselves out for it. And so, especially when we're in our 40s, it's more vulnerable because you're putting yourself out there. Some friendships you didn't grow up with since you were little, so that comfort isn't there. So it's a lot about like get to know you sort of thing.
And then friends as a mother. That's so different than pre-motherhood, right?
Yes. Yeah, because now you have all the things. But I think when you're spending time with friends at this age, it's really, really important to be with like-minded people, because whatever environment you put yourself into, you're putting your whole family into.
Yes.
Maybe you're not exposing your whole family to that friend, but you expose your mindset to it. How are you going to go back home? And I think my family has seen that with my very tight circle, the friends I spend my time with, they usually tend to make me better mothers. They make me better wife. They inspire me on maybe I want to cook something at home because somebody told me about a recipe. Mm-hmm. And women like you, they make me better leaders and tap into my creative juices. So I think when you are aligned with somebody, with a friend that really fills your bucket, it also there's so much more value you're also taking back home to the family. And when the family sees that, they're like, "Oh yeah, please go enjoy your time with us and that friend," right? Yes. But calendar, man. If it's a matter of time, you got a calendar.
You do. That's huge. Birthdays and all the things. Yeah, I always say that too. I'm like, I love it because you go, and not necessarily when you go have lunch with a friend or is it a bad difference, but there'll be differences in the family dynamic where I go home and I appreciate what we have. Yeah, I mean, but again, it's just different. It's not that one is better than the other. It's maybe I prefer this.
Have you ever had, spend time with a friend you're getting to know and you go back home and you're just heavy and you're exhausted and you have no energy to give because it was just draining. Doesn't mean that person wasn't a good person. Just some people that your energy goes up with, and there's some people that just your energy falls with. I think just being very self-aware of that.
Mm-hmm. If that happens to me consistently, I won't be hanging with that friend. I wouldn't be able to. Right? I have our time is so precious and valuable. It's harder to get away and break away from your family.
You stole it from your children. Yes. You've stolen from your children and given it somewhere else that might not have even a future.
And I feel like I'm to the point in my life where if you're not bringing value to our friendship, and I'm not talking monetary, some kind of something uplifting, ideas, recipes, parenting, whatever it is, fun, anything, then if you're not bringing something, I have no time.
I agree. You have to guard that time. And I think if people need to say that more comfortably, right? I think as women, we're so scared to speak up for our needs. We're so scared to say here's what I need. Here's what I'm looking for. And I'm sorry, it's not going to work out. Men are so much more comfortable with that. But I think if we're going to wear those many hats, then our time is super precious.
It's so nice to have someone to talk, motherhood and things like that with, what with the men. They can deal with it or not. They don't always need that, but I think it's very healthy for females. So, speaking of healthy, this has been such a fun experience with you, getting to know you and just your journey. I am so impressed. I always have been, but just to hear that you were dropped off, and forced to just jump in middle school and learn all the things. And obviously you've done a great job of it. I want to have some fun with some of the segments that I've got planned for us.
Okay,
so obviously, no secret, divorce attorney. We talked about that. I've got this segment called Bubbles or Bust. And I'm going to give you scenarios. Okay. You tell me bubbles if it's good, bust if it's not.
Okay.
And I might have you elaborate on a few. So, for example, when you talk about people coming to you for divorce, when you hear that I'm staying for the kids, bubbles or bust?
Bust.
Why?
I think you're putting an immense amount of pressure on those children. I would like that phrased differently.
Okay.
I would like that to be phrased, this is not the right time for my family. I am making the decision that I would be better off and the children would be better off if we waited. But when you put that kind of responsibility of, I am going to stay in a dysfunctional marriage or whatever kind of marriage that I'm unhappy because of my children, the children at some point, whether consciously they hear it or subconsciously they don't hear it, that's something they're going to carry on their shoulders. And I wouldn't want to put that kind of adult responsibility and emotional children.
Interesting. All right. Checking phones. Advise it or against it? Bubbles or bust?
Checking phones like in the middle of a conversation
Or your partner's phone?
Okay, I'll say bust.
Okay.
Against the lawyer. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm challenging all your words. You know what? There'll be times I'm grab Shyann's phone to check for something that I don't have in my phone. It's not checking.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
But I want to have access to his phone because there's things in there I need. Sometimes he has more pictures than I do, right? Sometimes he has somebody's contact information. So I'm all about, in our marriage, that works, that we have full access to each other's phones, computers, whatever, but it's not for a check. So if it's for a check, it's a bust.
Ooh, I gotcha. That makes sense. Okay. Posting photos during divorce.
Oh, bust.
I never say that. Okay.
I'm cringing.
Dating before a divorce is finalized.
It's a bust for me. I will say that there's probably situations out there that I can have empathy and compassion for. It's a bust for me, though. You're making me choose.
Okay. All right. This one is red flag or just human. I want you to decide if certain behaviors are red flags or just human, normal.
This is good.
Okay, good. Okay, talking to an ex.
Man, it's a red flag.
Okay. Avoiding conflict.
Red flag.
Sharing location.
Perhaps human.
Okay. I like that. Especially if they're traveling or, yeah. Okay. And when you look at your years as an attorney and you've seen a lot and there's different issues and different reasons why people would come to you to go to divorce, are there any outrageous requests that you've heard of that you're like, oh my gosh, like somebody demanding something or wanting something, whether it be monetary or just...
There's, we represented a variety of different cultures, and we've had things like requesting that the person who, hurt was the hurtful one or the abusive one apologizes to the rest of the family, so that you have to kind of explain how our culture works, how our legal system works. I have seen things like asking couples fighting over $300 Yeti, going to court, paying us $500 an hour to fight for that. And all of these things really go back to one thing. And there's more than the money piece. There's more than the assets or the Yeti. There's always a story in these cases. There's an emotional story. There's a human story. There's a psychological piece of something lost, trying to gain retribution. So all these different stories that are usually crazy, they really go back to somebody trying to heal, find some way to heal. And sometimes it sounds crazy because, we have to put our weight on lawyer hat and understand that. But when you put the law on and you're like, okay, that's crazy. That's not worth the billable hour.
I get that. Do you have any easy cases, amicable?
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
I think that has become a big trend too.
I can see that.
Coming together and doing that. I think it's fantastic. What I always caution is when one person thinks it's going to be amicable and the other one is playing along, but really playing a different game in the background. But ideal state is two people have gone to therapy together. They've maybe even done individual therapy together, and they came to the decision together. And they might have sat at the kitchen table late at night, sipping on some wine or whatever, and said, okay, how can we do this as two healthy individuals and still be friends or whatever? And then they bring that to us and we sort of architect the deal. But we see that a lot. I think that's a good thing of stigma of divorce, the pendulum swinging a bit, and that's the benefit of it.
There's a trend. We want it to be that, right?
Yes, exactly.
So we've talked about all the things, your career, your family, the fashion that I love. We'll have to trade more notes on that. Right now, in this moment, in this chapter of life that you were in, what would you call it? If you had a name to label it, what would it be?
I'd say it's the molding of my children, right? Because they're in such formidable years. It's fierce to that
molding of our children. Yes.
I have a 13-year-old going on 14, about to start high school next year, 5th grader that's about to start middle school. And then I have a baby, like same age as yours. So always be our baby, right? Our 5-year-old.
Boy, yeah.
The 11-year-old, the middle schooler and the high schooler, it's really, I think it's a really sensitive age right now.
Mm-hmm.
And everything I've done up to this point, Shyann, have been so I can be present right now. I can't tell you a lot about my 30s. I don't remember a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you a lot about the law school years and the college years, but my 30s is a blur because it was survival while having kids.
In the thick of it.
In the thick of it. And keep this partnership alive in our marriage, right? Keep that alive while surviving, while having kids. So I've worked really hard so that when the kids hit this age, I'm here. I'm the one that, the shoulder they cry to. I'm the one, I can make their lunches. I can, if I can drive them to their sports and hear about what's going on, I can do all of that. So I can travel with them. That takes priority over everything else right now, no matter what personal ambition I have, whatever, professionally, because you and I are made of the same. We'll always have the next thing, right? And that was a lot of my 30s, but we designed our lives so that in our 40s, when the kids are at that critical age, I can be there for them. And it took a lot of maturing. Like I say that right now, and it sounds like I've always been like thinking this way. And I can look back and say that's not how I was in my 30s. In my 30s, it was still very much about me, Sarah's ambitions, Sarah's profession, Sarah's business, and and the kids' schedule had to kind of work around that. Mm-hmm. And I'm really grateful for my 40s. And a lot of my girlfriends would tell me, like, man, the 40s are when you get to enjoy figuring out from the 30s. And I feel like I'm a lot more selfish. I'm more, giving.
My mom said her 40s were her best decade, and I agree. So far, so good.
You feel it too?
You're grounded, and you just kind of know what direction you're going in life. You're good. Well, thank you. This has been amazing. I appreciate you sharing all the things, Sarah, in your fabulous life and what it took to get there and what it continues to take to get there. Cheers to that chapter and all the things that you're doing. I can't wait to see what's next, and we'll follow you on your podcast as well.
Thank you so much, Shyann. It's such an honor to be in your space.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Cheers.